have never prepared a speech. I've never prepared a talk in my life. I tried once and it didn't work. So I usually start with how much time do I have? And I put my watch here and I try my best to keep it because photography is, I've never worked. It is not a job for me. It has never been a job. And I've always believed that you can't pay me for it. I mean, New York Times will give me $500 a day. It's standard. The magazine will give you $750, standard. It has never defined my worth. Because you cannot go to a person that has lost their only son and put a dollar figure to it. And so that is the stream that I have thrived in. If it wasn't for Trayvon, there wouldn't be a Ruddy Roye. Because nobody was interested in my pictures pre-Trayvon. If there wasn't a George Floyd, I wouldn't have risen to the heights that I have now. Because nobody has ever cared about Black stories. But before I go into storytelling, there's some we call it, some bookkeeping, what's the word? Some housekeeping. First of all, I want to thank the CEO, Mr. Earl Jarrett. I want to thank, and I'm going to butcher it, Paris Liu Ayi. Close enough. I want to thank the General Manager, Claudine Allen. Let me strip off the little New York and get dirty with it. And I'm saying this as humbly as I can say. I have photographed presidents in their space. I have gone all over the world. And there's this expectation that a man is never honored in his own country. Bob Marley said that. I have never had a warmer time, tears, than how you guys have treated me. I was picked up in Farm Heights by Mr. Coleman until conversations I've had all the way through. I have felt the most beautiful, because you can't pay me. I'm talking about as a career. Nobody can pay you for this. So the fact that somebody recognizes your work and puts you in a position to inspire others is the highest. Another person, Stewie. It's not easy, and I'm speaking from being a male, a man. It's not easy to have a baby and have another person come in and being referred to as master this, master that. And I have watched Stewie gracefully share that space with me. To my fellow judges, it ain't easy. But we got here. And to Debbie Bisson, thank you. And thank you for jumping in such short notice. To my fellow photographers, you ready? Because, as my mother would say, buckle up. I'm just gonna start off with, what is that saying in Jamaica where them say, whatever New Year catch you do. Somebody finish it for me. So every year in New York, as soon as the ball dropped, I jump on the subway and I race to Times Square and I photograph. And my images are the same. If I'm going to show you 30 images from the United States and about 1920 from Trenchtown. I had to dig to get them 20 images because Mr. Morgan was just trying to get it done. But if I can talk about the images that we judge, I mean, there's no critique. I mean, I remember when I was at your space. The one advice I would give you is to say bluntly, you're not even started. There's such a thing called vision that it took me 5 years into. I'm not talking about me just starting. I'm talking about 5 years into my career. I sat down one day and I go, oh, this is what I'd like to do. This is while I'm photographing all over the world. I come home one day and I go, this is it. And so my images have stayed in this lane. This is the Declaration of Independence. This brother is homeless at Grand Central Station. Homeless. And I remember that night, he pulled it out and presented it to me. He said, this is more important than the picture. Most of my images in the United States since Trayvon, 2012, something like that, has been around this idea that my voice, my platform should amplify. And there's this little quote. Everybody have two wolves. One nice and mild, and the other one ferocious. The one that turns up is the one you feed. So everybody calling me radical today. So just so you know, are the wolf they're not gonna feed. There it is. Boom. So some of these are going to be assignment images, and again, you won't be able to tell if I don't tell you that it's an assignment image. I'm talking about assignment. It goes on the front page of Time magazine. It goes into the magazine. When I come to take your picture, I don't distinguish between where it's going to end up in the magazine. My idea is to present you to the world in a way that amplifies whatever your plight is. So I was asked to photograph for National Geographic on the race issue. So I'm in Atlanta. So believe it or not, right in front of him is a Jamaican restaurant. I look for my peoples them everywhere. I'm in Atlanta. I see this guy, it's raining. I see this guy walking with a satchel over his shoulder. I took a break from Morehouse. Morehouse is like maybe 3 miles from here. And I see this guy, and I ran out into the rain. And I asked him, you need something to eat? What are you doing in the rain? He's walking from Augusta, Georgia, all the way up to Atlanta, Georgia. And yes, he's hungry. And we had this conversation, and I did not leave the rain. I didn't step in because nobody would allow him to come inside. So I'm out there with this good thing. Cameras nowadays, the weather seal. So I have to worry about it. I'm not going to duck my camera in no water. I kind of took it, and we had an amazing conversation. Why am I telling you these stories? Looking at the images that I saw, to me, they're one-dimensional. It's we walked up to an image, we saw the image, we captured the image. We didn't think about where we want to put this image. Who are we talking about? Who do we want to listen to the image? The idea is you want to reach as large of an audience as possible. Time magazine, cover. This guy was exonerated, did 8 years, and I was in Cleveland because I moved to Cleveland, so I'm no longer a New Yorker. Moved to Cleveland 2 years ago. I'm in Cleveland. They tell me that I have this assignment, so I say I'll come to New York, and I can just fly out from New York. They're like, the assignment is, it's kind of, we don't know if where. So I said, all right, I'm just gonna grab my little satchel and 2 cameras, and I'm gonna come. By the time I get to New York, you need to go on this assignment. Like, he's leaving prison tomorrow, you have to be there. So I'm like, I didn't have my equipment. Like, I travel with equipment. Like, when I was coming here, it's a beautiful story. I went up today, the counter, put my 2 suitcases on. I knew they were, when you do the test, it felt like 50. It didn't feel like 50, It felt like 50. So I put the lighter one up first. And of course the lady, look at the 56. And she said, young man, to pay $100 for this suitcase, And I'm like, lady, I did not have it in mind to pay no $100 today, But put the other one on. Of course, I'm like, Lord. Almost 60. So while I'm there going, all right, how am I going to take the tripod out of this, put into that? It's still going to be 50. She went and she looked. Oh, Mr. Roy, you're in first class. You're allowed 70. Me said, thank you, Omar. And this is what I mean by, like, somebody was thinking about the fact that I'm going to have equipment. So I end up there with a new camera. I bought a new camera. That's one of the worst things you can do for an assignment. If you've never done, do not bring a new camera on an assignment. I did not have the correct lens. But when you get these jobs, you produce, because these jobs give you your next job. And how you produce is not always in the image. How you produce is, when I say, you turn your hand. Because we were going to drive to somewhere to take his picture. And I go, nah, the prison is actually behind him. He said, let him off right there, so I can use these arches to say, this is his freedom. This was the front page. They did not use anything else from what I photographed. This was the cover of the magazine. Who know who Ben Crump is? Ben Crump, so I was embedded with George Floyd's family from about, when it really got serious. I was told to cover the family, went to the funeral, like I was everywhere with them. And Ben Crump and I we would sit down and talk about radical behavior. Like, how do we make white folk uncomfortable eating their blueberry muffin for breakfast? What kind of images can you take? And I remember, as he was struggling during the trial, we were all staying at the same hotel. And normally, we come in as a group, everybody go, take a rest. And I like to float. And I'm telling you this, there's a reason I'm telling you these stories. Because how many photographers, let me see every photographer that's in here. How many people went to Trenchtown yesterday? All right, how many of us you think have the same images? Better put up all on one. The fact is, we were all photographing as a group. Your job is to come back with something different. Even though we're all photographing this microphone, you better find one. And so you become a master. Like, I used to get upset when I'm here going, because this is the kind of photographer I am. And behind you, and you're like, I do, go on. Because in our run go nowhere, but there are photographers who like to go home with 10 million images and go, all right. You ain't blink differently. See there. So, and then the picture come out. So for me, again, everybody wants to get Ben Crump at the podium or Ben Crump walking to the court. This is the only one that exists. Because all the photographers went back up to their house because they had their to go look through. If you're thinking, you know that this exists. I love barbershops. In America, it's where all the stories. It's like, where we tell stories, all happens in a barbershop. And for me, part of what you don't know is most of my imagery has words in it. I think it was Miss Bissoon who said, a picture is 1,000 words. I have used poetry or caption or my long form. I remember when Instagram reached out to me. The Instagram here, emailed me to ask me, why am I captioning this long? And then I was just like, honestly, and this is my answer. I said, honestly, because I know who I'm photographing. I'm photographing Black folk. I digress. So everyday America, Garrett and I are part of Everyday Jamaica. And so you go. There was Everyday USA. And in my peak days, I was invited to photograph, to collaborate on that. And I started to put Black imagery up. And the rabid comments under it was, this is not America. I'm talking about a Black image. And so I remember I was in a movie a documentary that I collaborated on. It's called Through a Lens Darkly. And while I was watching it, I sat into that theater and I made Everyday Black American. Like I made an Instagram account. And so they reached out to me and they were like, why do you need we don't have the form. And I said to them, because I know who I'm photographing. And the moment I put a Black image up, and it is not encroached in who the person is. Facts say in life was this way and it got rough. The moment I allow the image to go up, a vagrant, a thug, a pimp. And so I wanted to put words, I wanted to clothe the images. And so, barbershop, all hustle, no luck. Make that change. So this guy was actually asking this kid, what you did at school today? And he was just talking, he had no father. So he was just being a role model and a father figure in this kid's life. And I was passing and I heard, and I just photographed it through the glass. Anybody know the historical context of Birth of a Nation? Me notice, you just watch and you write and you make no notes. And when you go home, you go forget. Birth of a Nation, has anybody ever seen that movie? You remember when you were at school and you always have the bright one there front. And then the teacher say, anybody watch Birth of a Nation? Not you. Somebody else, somebody in the back. All right, why am I saying? I mean, let me be clear about something. There is no way you're gonna be great photographers without being inquisitive. There's no way you're gonna be great photographers without dabbling into other people's discipline, without knowing a little physics, a little chemistry, a little sociology, a little anthropology. There's no way you're gonna be great photographers. No way without watching a whole heap of documentaries. I mean, you should be actually already thinking about filmmaking. Since I've been in Kingston, Garrett and I have been talking about making films. He has talked about the struggle that there are communities here. But me say, we don't have African soap opera. We can create Jamaican short docs and documentaries. So everything that is coming out of my mouth. Let me tell you one other little story. People like to ask me, Ruddy, help me now. And because I am Dorcas Roy's son, quick to help you. One day this young lady asked me to mentor her. I say, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go walk between Union Square and Times Square. It's about 20 blocks. 20 blocks would be what? I don't even know. I don't know Kingston. I could tell you, like, Sam Sharp Square to Wexford Court. Like, just walk, take some portraits with 2 rolls of film. Meet me back here at Union Square in 1 week. Of course, I was there. I waited for her. She came half an hour late. She came and said, where the image is there? She's American, but me give you the patois version. You want to know, say? Me have no money to buy the 2 roll of film. I did not say this, but in my mind, you know what them boy like to say? When they say go, yeah, that was what was in my mind. Me say go. Because after 10 years, at the time, after 10 years of toiling, struggling, for me to be able to tell you anything that I can tell you, I spent my money on over 10,000 rolls of film. Not digital, I'm talking rolls. I paid out of my pocket. Had nothing to do with assignments. Over 10,000 rolls of film. For me to be able to tell you how to compose, how to use lights, how to use flash, how to go up to somebody. One of the hardest things to do is to go up to somebody and present yourself and have them participate in an image. She'll tell me so she can't buy 2 rolls of film. So, Birth of a Nation is one of the, because more all I want to go look up Birth of a Nation. I'm not going to tell you everything about Birth of a Nation, but it was the quintessential documentary movie. It was a movie that spoke to segregation, Jim Crow, the KKK, and what came out of the Jim Crow movement. This is in New Jersey. I was watching this woman. This is who know who Amira Baraka is? Let me see how many people I write that down. Amira Baraka he was a poet laureate in America. Who know who Claude McKay is? I want to just jump on Claude McKay as well. All right, so if you don't know Claude McKay, or if you know Amira Baraka. At any time, let me see if it's easy to find. I like to think that I do mixed media. What is this? Ruddy. You can go to Ruddy Poems on Instagram. It's called Ruddy Poem, I think. Yes, and I'll read you this quickly. It's called Battered and Bruised. Ready? When I listen, I'm going to think I go finish it because I only have a little hour. But it says, black and blue do not mix. For me, it was in the heights of police shootings, police beatings. I said black and blue, and of course, I talk about black people and blue uniform. Black and blue do not mix. From the beginning, they have stood betwixt the sun and the moon, the same way midnight scorns the noon. Black boy restrains and imprisons without a say, while old white hands, who meant to have him slave his life away, fashion coins from his blackness, and true equality is delayed. Black and blue mix only on street corners and highways, handcuffed on back streets and alleyways. Black boy killed on a rooftop on a dark stairway, finds no justice, even when the video shows foul play. Black boy thinking that snitching and mixing only makes our blues darker. Water it down, make it lighter. Again, using old white hands, architects of a grey land, dip their greedy palms in native red, mixing it with black. The clotted mix of a putrid lineage leaks out when black face hits concrete or get covered with dirt, lies, or assimilated heritage. White and blue strangle the starry dreams of a black boy with their institutional stripes. Discoloring the perfect blend of black on red on white and blue. And every day we rise, we see our blue LCD screens alight with another casted image of another black boy's die. Thank you. Our mixing. Our mixing. So I know the thing. That poem was everywhere. And it was simple. I was a part of a trench town walk. And I walked in and I saw this dude standing he was opening the door, and he was standing right beside the flag. And this is the image I saw. And he was he had done time in jail. He was returning. Do we have what we call programs that people like the government gives you jobs? So this is what he was getting. And for me, it was a moment to talk, to amplify this story. Wisconsin. What does this t-shirt say? Wisconsin, is it Wisconsin? Milwaukee. Milwaukee's zip code is the worst zip code in America. 53205. It runs a line, 53205, 53206. And first day, I got 1 week for this assignment. First day, walking around, nothing. Second day, walking around, nothing. Third day, I saw this picture and I photographed it. And I was also going through a lull in my career. And I went over to a mall and I walked into the mall. There was a Clark's store. I said, a long time I don't buy a pair of Clarks. Well on. Look. Lull here. Yeah. And it ain't reached lull here yet. But the lull way up in here. And for me, the pictures come from here. So I took this picture, went into the mall, buy the pair of Clarks, and while I'm in there, I saw this little stand that made t-shirts. And I said, can you print me up a t-shirt? And I print up 53205 matters. And I put this kid on the front. And I went out on the third day and took my pictures. And on the fourth day, I am by a garden, because normally I get there a couple of days, and there's usually one standard formal image. Like the magazine send you to take a picture of Stewie. But they say float around and give me some B-roll. So I'm there to photograph Stuart, and I see a crowd of people coming. I mean, I tell you, when you can tell, say, you them a come for. It's like a mile away, you can see their eyes. No one now looks, them a look upon you. So I start back up. I'm say, one thing about a Jamaican, what Jamaican always have, it no matter where in the world, you have one 3-star, don't it? So I start feeling, make sure so I know where there. I stand up with the camera, and they came in, and just like, you gain certain sensibilities doing the work. They were there for me. And they came up to me, and then they parted, and one lady come on the front, and she said, are you take the picture? I see me have to get the translation. Are you take the picture of my son? And me talk. She said, no, you take the picture of my son? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, where are you from? I said, New York. She said, why would a person from New York be concerned with this community of Milwaukee? I said, because I'm here to do a job. And I saw your son. And this T-shirt, imagine this T-shirt in the worst zip code. Let me, at 9 o'clock in the morning when I'm going to breakfast, there were prostitutes coming out to work. When she endorsed me, like she said, kneel. And she went, now arise, Radical Ruddy. Anything that I wanted in the community. Any picture I wanted in the community. I remember the next day, I was photographing these kids and a guy pull up. And I'm talking to the dude and the guy pull up and he said, I need 2 keys. I'm saying, you need me to step off. Yeah. Why you do this? He said, no, you good. Yeah, man, I need some hash and I need some that. And I was like, because she went. And it all started with just an act. All I did was to say 53205 matters. Beautiful assignment. By the way, you see the guy in the back? My editor called me and she said, you sure that is not a woman in the back over there? I said, why would you say that? She don't look like she have to you. I said, no, that's a dude. As we're going quickly. Again, this was in the height of police shooting. This guy lost his brother around the same time that Trayvon lost. And we were all at a church. And I said, do you have a picture of your brother? And he said, I carry it every day. It's on my phone. And a lot of people don't understand what the traumas that we carry. Like imagine, and this is, I don't want to bring you, usually when we come off of the plane, we left all American sensibility at the airport. I'm only put on the back. So you know the term guani? I know me that. So I'm gonna see me come down here and say, it might take so long. Like, no. My Rasta man went tell me a long time ago, I can tell the difference between a foreigner and a local. I say, oh, the foreigner, the rush. In done. The foreigner always a hurry. So every time I leave the airport, I leave my foreign booth and I start walk slow. And I'm going to show you simple pictures. What is the word above his head? No, the first one. The first. American made. How have you heard about the way they've treated black people in America? And so I like to mix. I wish I had a point. Is there a point on this? I like to mix. There's nothing as American as Coca-Cola. And so I want you to see how I texture imagery. I'm gonna be honest. Honest. You're there, you have to tell the truth. When I was a child growing up, there used to be this cartoon with one big woman and one Mara youth last. Yeah. Who said? I walk on the beach and I see it and I say, again, she had tried to make a decision. And there has to be a level of, that's something else that I didn't, there has to be a level of patience in your image. There's image 1. That's the one you walk up on. And then there's image I must get. And that is the one that you think through. There's many frames in between it, but you think it through. Like you go, okay, I can see it. I'm going to sit. I have sat down 1.5 hours and wait for an image. For me, sometimes it is, I see the storefront. I'm saying, I'm going to wait and see if a woman walk into this frame. And then it so happened that she go. For me, it's all, I mean, it's the projects, of course, but it's also, there you go. And of course, I love to photograph the American flag. I'm very sensitive towards homelessness, mental illness, sensitive in the way I put them out into the world. And I was in Jackson, Mississippi, doing a story on AIDS, and she walked by my car. And the way she spoke to me, I knew she wasn't always here. And she had this mirror, broken glass in her hand, talking to me. And while she was talking, I just kept clicking. Like, just hold the camera here and just kept clicking. And sometimes, I'm not telling no lie, there's such a thing called LUCK in photography. Like, luck does not come without work. Just want to know that. How much? 2? All right, 20, enough minutes that, man. And so I'm holding the camera here, right here, and I'm talking to her, and I'm just going click, click. Because I wanted to tell, I wanted to use the word crack, without ever having to say the word crack. 77 years old, just had a triple bypass. He was out in 2 weeks working. So why do I tell that story? Because if he no work, he homeless. This was also in Jackson, Mississippi. These are actually slave homes. Still exist. People still living in them. Because see them there. Now understand the trauma you carry. Understand the cycle of trauma. You're living in your ancestors' home. This guy did not talk to me until we talked about, I was doing this, I was working, I told him I did a job in Chicago where I photographed gangster disciples and black disciples. And only then did he allow me to photograph him. A year ago, I drove back around here. He's dead. And he was the sweetest one out of all of them. Out of all of these guys, he was the sweetest. Like, this is a project on fathers. And again, I'm never gonna step away from my politics. And my politics is always blackness, always amplifying blackness. Black fathers do not get enough credit in America. Most of the fathers are said to be in prison, and that's why those barbed wires are up there. And believe me, all I had to do was to do this, to turn around and look, because most of these assignments, there's no studio. He says, I'm going to meet you at the corner of, and this is what I used. You should be able to see, is what I'm trying to say. This is America. This is actually New York City. But I also wanted to talk about the empire as we know it. I love to use words. Anything could make can make a story. Anything. What GD said? One frame. All you need is one frame. Oh, by the way, GD is Gareth Daly in the back. Um, breakfast. This is actually when I was working on the story between Gangster Disciples and the Black Disciples in Chicago. This guy is one of the Black Disciples. And I asked him a question. I said, let's say I gave you a whole new life. Shipped you off to Florida. You have a job. Come out one day in your bathrobe, your Bobby socks and your slippers. Pick up a newspaper and look right across the street. Is your enemy doing the same thing? What do you do? He said, I would shoot him. I said, why would you shoot him? He said, because I didn't know if he would shoot me. And it's again another interview I did. Time Magazine interviewed me for the 2016, and they asked me about this story. They said, we sent you to Chicago to do a gang story. And he didn't bring back any gang members. Why? I said, because I didn't see any. I saw some fathers. I saw some uncles. I saw some sons. And that's what I said, if the gangster had turned up, I'd photograph him too. But this is what I saw. So you're not going to send me anyway. See, that's a thing. You're not going to send me to go take your NIGGA images. I'm going to show you who we are, who we can be, given the opportunity. I think he's the only picture, because a person can interpret this and say he's teaching his son violence, because that's what he was actually shot 24 times. He has this huge scar in his foot. But if you look, that's him teaching him how to be tender. Mr. Victor, Reverend Victor White, this is New Iberia, Louisiana, lost his son. His daughter is holding it. And again, I should have even showed you the symbols. Like, quickly, I didn't put, okay, the chain around his neck is important. Somebody tell me quickly why. Quickly. Say it again. No. You're on it though. Say it. He used to be in the army. He did not. He's too young. No. It is a dog tag. What does dog tag signify? He's a warrior. It's simple as that. It's important that you look. When somebody presents themselves to you, you look to see what evidence is, what hangs on them that can add to your story. No dumping. The barbed wire, prison. So everything, empire. The Harlan Baptist Church, Harlan has a huge history. It's in Kentucky. Two factions killing each other. There's a big movie about it. One of the most racist places in America. Racist bad. I look for symbols also. Why did I go back? Oh, so that cross. That was lean. His faith was rocked by the fact that he turned up at the morgue and they refused to have him look at his son. And then when he was finally able to see his son, he had 4 bullets, 2 top to belly. And so the report that he was reading said his son was trying to reach for a gun. No, here, with his hand behind him, while he was in the police cruiser. So he's in the police cruiser and I gotta get this gun. 4 bullets. This is George's brother on this side. and a good friend of his on the other side. But this was maybe one of my last images for the family. I love this image so much. Like, she was so done with America that she sits like this every day. Every day, every day. She comes out, she goes to the courthouse, and she sits facing the courthouse wall on a red chair. Yeah, I get radical sometimes. So I'm going to show you some images that I photographed in Trenchtown. How many people felt like they had time to make images yesterday? Hello? You ready? This is Miss Joyce. You see it. So, me not gonna really say nothing about Trenchtown because one, I haven't lived there long enough to know the ins and outs. And I hate to speak on things that I am not versed in. So I usually make images to speak for me. And in all the stuff that I heard, one of the things that I have not seen since I've been visiting, one is the only person I think that maybe can answer this question. I know Gareth can go close to it. I'm almost certain our esteemed CEO might come close to it. I know Stuart definitely will come close to it. How many people have a body of work? A body of work, meaning one subject matter that you photograph for a prolonged time. You do. You do. You do. More on seat. So this is ever since, I would say over a decade. Every time I come here, I ask Garrett, it was one of the first questions I ask him. Every time I come here, I meet a photographer, I say, do you have a body of work? Because that is what establishes you as somebody who is serious, somebody who's willing to sit into one subject matter and sculpt it out. This, if I was doing a story on Trenchtown, this is definitely, with all the problems I hear, this is how I would start. Especially knowing that Bob is jacked up in the thorns. What does that say? Sometimes you gotta play fool. Play the role of a fool to fool. May I tell you? Have Obama looking like a Haitian. He does, he looks like Toussaint. Who remember this picture? Yes. And again, remember, we had no time to like really conceptualize an image. I am just using graphs, color. There's this guy, I play over 50 football, and there's this guy from Kingston who, his name is Garnett. And every time we finish play, he go to the back of his car and he take out 2 buckles and he lean them and see what she and I say, you there, standpipe? Every time. And so when I saw her going to the standpipe, it's the worst time to make an image. But sometimes when you get these assignments, you have to photograph, you have to make an image throughout the day. And so you have to figure out a way to make an image that is printable. It's just shadow and light. And I could tell you how this would go along with any series I'm doing on Trenchtown. Along with this. You know, so somebody in the bridge light. Or internet. But I remember while in the initial judging stages, we were looking at images. And there were people who would send in 3 or 4 images. Like, if I remember clearly, there was whoever, and I'm not speaking ill of your work, the pedestrian, the woman with the pedestrian sign, it was the same image. Like there was no time at all where you took a picture of, she must put on the sign somewhere, sometime. Like, what shoes was she wearing? Because she doing this whole day. What her shoes look like? He walked down, he have hole under it. I remember there was a great picture on Obama's campaign trail where he was in a bus, his feet were up, he had holes under the bottom. And that image won a prize. Because nobody was photographing that. Tidied up well, huh? As photographers, we have to be curious. So one of the things I asked Stuart was, why do you think they blotted out Damian Brown image? Eh? Those are the stories we look for. Like, I can imagine going back into the community and ask somebody who Damian Brown was, and there's a whole story. He was there, he was on the wall, and then somebody was like, nah. Who can just make a stab at why I photographed this? So Bob is there for sure. It's fading. So for me, it's the shelf or what was is gone in the same way Bob. And so, but there's something still standing there. The foundation is still there. And we know Bob's legacy. So there are ways to do fine art also. It does not always have to be editorial. It doesn't have to be poetry. It doesn't have to be. You can literally. I saw somebody who did the movement in your work, the dancer. It looked like art. You look at an art piece. It doesn't always have to be a portrait, and no. It can also be an abstract. I mean, it's soon done. Bang them. Whipsy sweet. Attack the problem, not the person. And bang them. But you know, I was so happy that the dog walked to my picture. Because I do have a picture with it just bland and so. Who can tell me what her name is? Say it again. There you go. A portrait doesn't have to be of somebody we have. It can also be a mural. And you can use the same, you can use light. There were at least 3 or 4 people photographing this one image. And I know I have image that everybody have, but it was important for me to get an image that I knew nobody else had. And this is the final image. Yes. How many people see you see the picture on the front of the thing you walk through? How many more minutes do I have? One just had to run me off of the place. So if I had a final remark, I would say the hardest thing you guys will ever have to do is to see. Because seeing is not just what is there. Seeing is, and you have to do it quickly too. And the only way to do that, I have at least 4 bookcases of photo books that I have. And the idea is not to learn from it. The idea, believe it or not, is what not to photograph. Every picture that I see, that's an amazing image. I should make mine better than this one. Quick story. I followed James Nakwe at the Eddie Adams workshop. And I don't know if you guys know James Nakwe. James Nakwe is, if there's a god of photography, James is that man. Images are amazing. He'll be between him and Salgado, Sebastian Salgado. They're like, Sebastian Salgado has made the most money. James has the most awards. And he gave his presentation, and I was to follow him, and I was like, there is no way I'm gonna go up and have, I imagine this. He's done with everybody like this, and I go up there, everybody go, you just see what James do? And for the whole time, they'll be there talking about James's image. And I remember going up, and before I took the clicker, I looked down in the audience. And this is what I mean by just basic see. I looked in the audience, there was this, in a sea of white faces, there was this one black person. And I put the clicker down, and the first question I asked is, how many of you guys here would love to photograph black subject matter? And everybody go. And I say, can somebody tell me about Juneteenth? Nobody could. I said, oh, no, deserve to photograph black subject matter. That's it.
I'm curious, you have become the ultimate advocate, using your craft and standing on your truth and experiencing and focusing on what you really want to capture, the stories you want to tell through photography. Do you think if you had stayed in Jamaica, that passion would have been nurtured, and what would it have looked like?
You know, I ask myself that question almost monthly, whether I'm here or whether I'm in the States. Because my heart is always here. And I've always said, you know, who would I have become? But before I left, I was doing stories like 10 City, when there were 10 cities in, and I didn't just write stories about, oh, we had a flood and people lost their homes. I was going up to people and asking them, how are you living? How has this changed your life? So I think that has always been in me. I think having the experience of traveling and seeing how other journalists have worked, I have grown. But I think my mom was happy that I left, because there was a time when I came off a taxi from doing a story with the Western Mirror, and there were guys who were upset with the story that I had written, who were waiting for me at the taxi stand. So that person always existed. I mean, I will never change.
When seeing someone, right? How do you like articulate yourself in a sense where you can make them comfortable enough to walk up to them and you just let them feel like you can take their photo. You know, they feel comfortable. They don't want
Money
to.
in their pocket. Because I'm giving you industry secret. What's that? What? No, they want a big. All right. So the long answer, go cost your money. The short answer is this is something you have to practice every day. You literally, and I would say, keep a camera out. There are a lot of people who walk around with the camera in their bag and just when they see the picture, they pull it out. Take your camera out. Quick story. When iPhoneography was big, I literally made the most money taking pictures with an iPhone. But it became easy. I used to literally go, of course, minute upon the phone. I'd go, yeah, no. Click, click, click. Yeah. Click, 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 click. Because in my mind, I am tracking. I know how I want two things to get together, but I feel like I was cheating. I want you to know that I'm taking your picture. I want there to be a contract between both of us. So when I put the big old camera in front of you and you do this, I know that's not the picture for me to take. If you do not then say to me, where I take the picture of the phone, then I can say to you, I'm working on this project. It's really important to me. It's something that I'm trying to get into exhibition spaces. I'm trying to publish. I'm trying to do this. And to get you to buy into being a collaborator. That's my word for, what's the word I like? What was the word I said I didn't like? Subject.
Oh.
I don't use subject, I use collaborator. Because as a collaborator, we have to work together. You have to practice every day. Go out. Go up to somebody you don't know. Sorry. First, you have to have one project. You have a project that you can invite them to be a part of. Open up your phone. Show them that you've been working on it. Those things, people love to ingratiate themselves with what you're working on. And I have 4,000 and something images on Instagram. I would be lying if I said I have had 10 no's.
Mm-hmm.
Because first of all, you have to know when that person, if you see two people standing up, that's not the time to go ask. Unless you want both of them in the picture. But if you want one of them, no, that's a no. Because the other person is going to be too impatient and like, come on, man. You have to take too long because I'm not rushed. Me take my time, want time with the image. So you also have to learn what is a good image, what is not a good image, what is the right time.
Yeah.
For practice.
You said in the last part of, you wrapping up, you said the hardest thing to do is to see and also what not to see. All right. So then you have two things there to have in mind, what to see and what not to see. That would have taken years, I'm sure, to get to that point. And then how much of it is wrapped in your personality when you get to decide, when you get to make that decision, okay, this is not the photo I'm looking for. Okay, this is the photo I'm looking for.
What not to see, this. How many times we're walking, driving, and you see this? That's not the image. As the image said, it's what was it? With the dog in it. What was the quote?
Yeah, and then you see bang them.
Who said attack the person?
But she did see bang them.
Attack the problem. So the picture is the problem, not the person. So if you can find a way to get to what those social ills are. Those are the images. Those are what you should see. I mean, this is the lowest hanging fruit. And I'm not saying you shouldn't take them. If you can find a dignified way to talk about homelessness. Because I remember I was in subway, New York subway. And there's a time when a group of homeless, there are different kinds of homelessness. But there's a set of people who comes into the subway and they stink. And every time I walk into the subway and they're there, I sit in it. I don't change. Because I consider it as I should have been writing to my city council. My job is to make sure that it's not there, not to ignore it. And I remember one day there was somebody in there and I was photographing them and a white woman steps up to me and she goes, "Why are you photographing her?" And I turned around and I said, "You see him though, right? The mere fact that I'm photographing him, that's when you see him. Because you were sitting over there all this time, you didn't say a word. But now that I'm engaged, you have something to say." I said, "Right, did you write to your city council?" And also, there's also something when I'm finished with a talk in America, people like to ask this one question. What can we do to help? The last time I did a talk, it was in Cleveland, and this guy said to me, "Ruddy, don't we need more photographers? Like I see what you're doing, and I know photography feels like it's dying, but don't we need more?" And I said to the person, "Did you know it was the project was called Off-Weight, the Off-Weight housing projects. A lot of killing, Off-Weight. So if this is Off-Weight right here, all the buildings around it supply Cleveland, the whole Cleveland with food. Yet Off-Weight doesn't have a supermarket. Off-Weight does not have a place. The only place in Off-Weight to get food is a gas station where you get chips and sweet soda. There is no supermarket." And so I did this beautiful exhibition. And he goes, "Don't we need more photographers?" I said, didn't you know Off-Weight existed?" I said, "Didn't you know it existed before one of my pictures?" So what are you telling me? We don't need no more photography. We need you to go in your pocket. We need you to organize. We need you to write to your city council. That's what we need. We need to start using this. Because you didn't need me. You knew. You drive past it every day. The whole white audience. But that is what advocacy does. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Real, give it a whole 100. This is not for everybody. I have lost jobs. The Eddie Adams workshop, when I stopped clicking and I spoke to the fact that you only have one black photographer in a field of 100, they've never invited me back. And somebody made a mistake one day and sent me an email. And I said, "Obviously you knew." That's all I wrote back in the email. I said, "You're new." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, go do your homework. I'm Ruddy Roye. I was banned. National Geographic seminar. This one dude, he's a celebrated photographer. He photographs elephants. He photographs lions. They're beautiful. The day before me, he was on stage and he was talking about how he built 100-foot platforms so that he can photograph elephants in the no. He was photographing them in the villages. So he would bring the animals in and have people mingle with the animals. And then he made the mistake of letting Ruddy hear him say, he went in there with a whole heap of food. I mean, you ain't saying feed the people then. So the next day, everybody got 45 minutes. I used 25 minutes of my 45 minutes to talk about the previous presentation. And I said, you guys sat down there and allowed him to talk about these animals over people. Enough for everybody. To advocate is not for everybody. But I believe that as I have grown as a photographer, you need to find a way to make sure the work is not divisive. That it unites the same people that you are trying to open up them wallets. You find a way to take images that invite them in the conversation. You give them a seat so that you can enact change. You can help to enact it. Because I think it's a little arrogant to think that your images are going to change anything. You can only do the work. And as I like to say, there's a little girl and a little boy 100 years from now sitting down like this, waiting for you to finish so that they can grab it and do their 50 years with it.
Love that. Love that. You mentioned a while ago, Ruddy, that this is not for everybody, but for those who will decide to take it up. And photography, as we know, it really has become a very competitive field now. You know, I mean, I think photographers now provide the best post coverage for even events happening here in Jamaica. And just in the case of you bringing all of them down to Trenchtown, and then you said, boy, we were all looking at the same image, but did anybody get anything different? It's going to be that competitive edge, that very unique quality about the photographer that will allow that person to last in this field. How can one really decide to step out in the way that you have to create something unique for their own selves in a very brave way?
Study. Who is Roy de Caraba? Who is Gordon Parks? Who is Gary Winograd? Who is Cartier-Bresson? Who is, you go down the line, who, say, what's her name? Bunch missing me right now. Like, what's her name? My favorite photographer when I was in New York was Eugene Richards. He was the only man that could just walk up and kiss me on my forehead. You know where we come from. but, and I'm very black when I'm in America, like ultra black. And this man did a series of imagery on the black community, and he went to the International Center of Photography, and he had to defend it. He had to defend black photographers saying, how dare you make us look a particular way? And Eugene sat down in this chair and he took it. And his bravery is why he got my respect. Because none of them in the audience did the work. So, what I'm saying to you, your vision, that vision has to be mature. And by mature, the only way you're going to mature this vision, Stuart, you want to tell them for me? Get up every day and go work. Yeah. Every day. The camera has to be a part of you. So much so that when I don't have the camera in my hand, I am still clicking. I see images and I go click, click. Still, it's so much a part of who I am. You have to do it. That's the only way you're gonna images will start to look like this. The picture is coming, you see something else coming, and you know how to intersect it. Because that's this image over here will give you money. This one over here will give you money. This one will give you your next job. Texture. Being able to articulate a narrative clearly without clutter. That's your vision. That's your eye. And you have to shoot every day.
All right, I have one last question for you now. Radcliffe and Ruddy. Ruddy the photographer, Radcliffe Roye the man. And how do you not go native when you come face to face with these stories that Ruddy is capturing?
It's which wolf you want to feed. I don't go out. Maybe because I'm 54 years old. But I think in the back of my mind, I'm telling myself there's too much work to be done. I don't give myself vacations. I am of the belief. I remember I had a cat. Beautiful Bengal, marble Bengal, big old beast. The cat was actually a dog. Like, tell him to go fetch, comes back, Like, beautiful dog, beautiful cat. And one day my son said to me, cat not well. And I said to him, I'll watch him. Because, vet not cheap. In 2 days, I could smell that he was sick. So I raced to the vet. Vet looked at me and said, cat not coming back home. And I remember calling my sons, mostly because he was his cat. And I said, the cat is not coming back home. And they go, the boy. And I went home and we had a conversation. The next morning, we called the two of them and we said to them, I am that cat. I can leave here at any time and not come back home. And ever since then, that boy, especially the older one, hugged me and kissed me anytime. Like, Moses is 18 years old, and the week before he went off to college, Moses was holding me like this, walking. Still, you ask me, why I don't go native? How? Because I'm rooted in why I'm doing this. I know that I don't have tomorrow. So everything, this moment that I get, I'm giving you all of it. There's nothing that's left in here. When me gone under the ground, somebody will say, and this is important to me, that dude was raised properly. There was a connection to my mom. They will also say that he was forthright in his art. He gave it. He ain't world about nothing. Because I don't believe it's mine. I believe it was a gift from God. And he or she has said, go out and give it so that the next person in here can carry the baton forward. I used to say that I was a self-made photographer until I realized that I stood on the shoulders of many before me whose words and pictures are in those 4 bookcases of photographs. Without their 2 rules, I wouldn't be here. So I removed that from my language. Not self-made at all. I'm standing on the backs of all the photographers before me, white and black, pink, purple, orange, magenta, fuchsia. And, I give thanks. The hardest part of it for me is to decompress. It's hard to have all these stories and not be depressed because you don't see change. The change. My son sent me a text today. He said, "Whoa, Mosiah Roy, where are you? Quickly. He said, Dad, what does this quote mean?" And he said this at 3:36 p.m. "They say you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit." And I wrote to him, success takes time. The seed has to grow into a tree. That tree has to grow to be a fruit. And the fruit has to then ripen. So you have to be patient. That's my life. The whole idea is, it has never been about accolades for me. It's about, I believe fundamentally that I am here to put on work. I don't care what is going to be done with it after I leave. My job is to do it. And I get up every day I photograph. If it's even one frame, I photograph every day because there's a little girl and a little boy waiting on that one image. Simple.
Ladies and gentlemen, Radcliffe Ruddy Roye. That is all I will say. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your mastery, and thank you so much for sharing your heart, your passion, your story.